मीना शरीरा तिरिह विपुलतरे तिष्ठति तव पृष्ठे धरनि धारण किन चक्रगरिष्ठे क्षितिरिह विप्लुतरे तिष्ठति तव पृष्ठे धरनि धारण किन चक्रगरिष्ठे केशवधृता कुर्म शरीरा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता हलधर रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे सदय हृदय दर्शित पशुजात खाथम विदरे आह श्रुति जातम केशवधृता बुद्ध शरीरा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे निधन कलयसि निधने कलयसि करवालम् तुम कथितुम् इव किमपि करालम् लिच्छनिव निदधे कलयसि करभालम् धूमकेतुमिव किमपि करालम् केशवधृता कल्कि शरीरा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे वसति दशन शिखरे धरणी तव लग्ना शशिनिकलंक कलेव निमग्ना वसति दशन शिखरे धरणी तव लग्ना शशिनिकलंक कलेव निमग्ना केशवधृता शुकर रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशव केशवधृता शुकर रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे 11 श्री जयदेव कविरैदमुतं श्री जयदेव कविरैदमुतमुदारं श्रीनु सुखदं शुभदं भवसारं कविरैदमुतमुदारं श्रीनु सुखदं शुभदं भवसारं केशवधृता दाशभिदरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे वेदानुधरते जगन्ति वहते भूगोलमुभिभरते. Okay, you want to do that? Done. Jagannti vahate bhugolamuddhibharate daityam dharyate balim chalayate kshatrakshayam kurvate Paulastyam jayate halam kalayate karunyamatanvate malichan murchayate dashkriti krite Krishnaya tubhyam namaha. Jayati Goswami ki jai. The appearance day of Varaha Dev ki jai. Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivachakacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivachakacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vishnupada Krishna Prashtaya Bhutali Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Niti Namine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from 3rd Canto, Chapter 13, text number 24. Okay. Okay. 3:13:24. I can do it from here. Okay. Brahmanam Harshayam Asa Haris Tangs Cha Dujotaman Swa Garjitena Kakubaha Pratiswanyata Vibhuhu Brahmanam Harshayam Asa Haristangs Chadvidjotaman Swagarjitena Kakubaha Pratiswanayata Vibhuhu Brahmanam Harshayamasa Haristangs Chadvijotaman Swagarjitena Kakubaha Pratiswanayata Vibhu Brahmanam Harshayamasa Haristangs Chadvijotaman Swagarjitena Kakubaha Pratiswanayata Vibhu. Please repeat. Oh, so sorry. Brahmanam Prasayamasa Chadvijotaman Swagarjitena Kakubaha
Pratisvanayata Vibhuhu Brahmanam Harshayamasa Aristamscha Dvijottama Swagarjitena Kakubaha Pratisvanayata Vibhuhu.
Okay. Brahmanam unto Brahma Harshayam Asa enlivened Harihi the personality of Godhead Tan all of them Cha also Dvijottaman highly elevated Brahmanas Swagarjitena by his uncommon voice Kakubaha all directions Pratiswanayata which echoed Vibhuhu the omnipotent. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated Brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions. Brahma and other enlightened Brahmanas who know the Supreme Personality of Godhead are enlivened by the appearance of the Lord in any of His multi-incarnations. The appearance of the wonderful and gigantic incarnation of Vishnu as the mountain-like boar did not fill them with any kind of fear, although the Lord's resounding voice was tumultuous and echoed horribly in all directions as an open threat to all demons who might challenge His omnipotency. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunitamina Tasmai Shigrive Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manomishtam Stapitamina Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Tadi Swapatantika Vandeham Shigroshitavatakamalam Shigrun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Ragnathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvitam Sapaditam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shiv Shakhan Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavanda Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hrive Vanchakalpataruvesha Kripa Sindhibhya Vichapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutali Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamini Tanamane Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutali Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tanamane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today is the divine appearance of Lord Varaha in the form of a boar, in the form of a pig, which is more or less inconceivable to even think about. And so he appears in this world for, as Bhagavad Gita says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhaviti bharata abhyuthanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. So whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, I descend, O descendant of Bharata, and prominent rise of religion, at that time I descend myself. So, as the situation happened to be, these sons of Diti, the Daityas, were born as twins from Diti, Kashyapa Muni being the father, conceived at a not such a good time, at a bad muhurta. These demons were born from the womb of Diti, known as the Daityas. Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were the two sons of Diti. And Hiranyaksha was the youngest out of the two. I believe he came out first. So that meant, anyway, but they consider that he was, anyways, there's like a way of that is given in the translations here. I think he was conceived first, so he was conceived second, therefore he was the younger one. So he came out first. So here, the demons of these two demons were conquering the universe, as naturally demons do. Specifically in this case, the Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, they were traveling all over the universe because they had attained a boon from Lord Brahma to be able to conquer like that due to their austerities. They had immense power. So the demigods greatly feared them, and they were going around destroying everything. And the demigods had no chance of actually fighting against them. So they were conquering the universe. And as they generally do, the demigods, they turn to Lord Vishnu for shelter. As the next verse comes, that Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I come to protect my devotees in order to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion. I advent myself millennium after millennium. So Krishna comes to protect the devotees, and the demigods, they are devotees. They are the suras and the asuras. There's the two classes Prabhupada often speaks about in his classes, in his books. So the two classes of men, the suras and the asuras. And so the suras are the devotees of the Lord, and the asuras are the demons who are against the Lord. So the Supreme Personality Godhead appeared. His appearance was quite amazing, as it has been dictated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that Lord Brahma, while he was still engaged in creation was going on, he hadn't noticed that the earth had fallen out of orbit into the Garbhodak ocean and had become inundated. He had not noticed that. So the Lord, Lord Brahma prayed to the Lord, more or less, saying the Lord will manifest in order to take care of this. And so, while engaged in creation, the Lord, out of his nostril came the size of a thumb, Varaha, in the form of a pig. He came out from his nostril. And immediately, it's mentioned, he became very large. He became like a mountain, as it's being said in this purport here, that he became like, he was here, which was like mountain-like. His incarnation of Vishnu as the mountain-like boar. So the rishis and the demigods and all of them were seeing this, and they were quite amazed, and they were actually quite pleased. They were quite, oh, what is this? What is this amazing creature that has come out? Where did he come from in the form of why did he come in the form of a pig? You know, these rishis actually seeing this form, they were very pleased. But why would the Supreme Personality of Godhead come in the form of a pig? Why is it that he can't just come as he himself and save the earth? It would be pretty easy. You know, he doesn't even have to come at all. He just can out of his own will, just lift the earth out of the ocean. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his nature is that he likes to enjoy. He is the enjoyer of everything. Bhaktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the Lord of all things. He is the enjoyer of everything. So he likes to enjoy in different ways. His enjoyment is of great variety. And so he takes upon this form for this particular purpose of taking this earth, picking this earth up with this tusk, performing this great, an amazing, wonderful act of him picking up the earth with his tusks. Because when he's situated, he can take his tusk under the water and pick it up with the tip. There's that picture. If you want to pull that picture up there, that'd be cool. So it's impossible to imagine. That form is very suitable for picking up the earth, and it's practically impossible to imagine. How can we possibly imagine the size of Lord Varaha, who is picking up the earth? How could we possibly imagine that form of Varaha in the form of a pig is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? We cannot. That is what it means to be Krishna. That is what it means to be God, is that He is everything that is within the imagination and outside of our imagination. We can't even conceive of it. Because if we could conceive of it, He no longer would be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because He would be constricted within our own imagination. So He wouldn't no longer be Bhagavan. If we were to say, well, I can't imagine such a form to be Bhagavan, well, that's not about your imagination. It's beyond your imagination. It's outside the scope of our imagination. So even when we try to imagine it, he's still outside of those imaginations. Even when we try to see outside of reality as to what God could be, he's even outside of that, because it's still within the limitations of one's mind. As that verse comes, Vayor, no, not Vayor, this in the Brahma Samhita, we've quoted it so many times. Muni Pungavanam, Pantastakoti Vatsara Sampragamyo, Vayor Atapi Manasu Muni Pungavanam. So even with not in the reach of the minds of the yogis who travel at the speed of the mind. Here you can see the transcendental form of Lord Varaha lifting up the ocean from the Garbhadak ocean. So he's not within our imagination. His activities are not within our imagination. He likes to perform activities. Why does he like to do them? Just because he likes to do them. For what? For fun. For his enjoyment. How can you logically apply in what is enjoyed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead? How can you logically understand enjoyment? You can't. Even within this world, it's hard to understand why some people just find happiness in some things. It's out of our imagination sometimes. It's outside of logic and reason why one person finds another person attractive. Of course, guna and karma is there. But sometimes you see, it's just like, oh my God, this person is like very good looking and this person is very not good looking at all and does not have like good qualities at all, but they're extremely attached to each other. It's like, how are they enjoy? Why is that? How does that enjoyment come about? It's impossible to understand. What to speak of the enjoyment and the rasas that the Supreme Personality of Godhead wants to taste in different forms. So in this case, he's come as a boar, and he's lifting up this earth, this whole earth from this ocean. And it's quite impossible to imagine. But we can kind of start to see, just even the scientists, they have created just like these cranes that are able to lift up huge rocks, unimaginable. You could never imagine that a person could lift such a thing. Just like, sometimes these cranes, you see them, they're working or they're building bridges and they're lifting these huge pieces of concrete that you could never think like, oh my God, there's no way that one could ever even imagine to lift such a thing, a person, a human being. So it exceeds the limitation of a man, but they could not even imagine a machine that could lift up the whole earth, because it would take all the resources of the earth, and even then it wouldn't be possible. So it's almost impossible to imagine. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Achintya. His Shakti, his energy, he himself is Achintya, beyond the scope of calculation. You cannot measure it. We simply have to accept it on the verdict of Shastra, on the verdict of knowledge, Veda. So why do we accept such a thing? Well, the Vedas give us the eyes by which we can see the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his Achintya nature, his inconceivable nature. That by proper understanding, by proper application of devotional service, one starts to come to the standard of understanding these things, that actually we simply have to understand that we cannot understand everything. And so he lifted up this earth, and earth is Bhudevi, it is actually his consort. And it's mentioned that he impregnated the earth, and from that combination was one Naraka was born, one demon was born. The Supreme Personality of Godhead's pastimes are very inconceivable, that how is it possible that he lifted up this earth, and in that process of lifting that earth up, when he impregnated Bhudevi, a demon was born. Well, my spiritual master mentions that actually from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities are coming, the demons and the demigods. So it is nothing out of the ordinary. They're all amsas of Vishnu. They're all parts and partials of Vishnu. So when he lifted this earth, you could see this Hiranyaksha who had conquered the whole universe. He saw this and he became extremely envious. He said, what are you doing? What are you doing here? I am the proprietor of all these universes. You do not belong here. How dare you touch my property? As demons naturally are like that, they go and they conquer one place. And they claim it to be mine. And then another demon comes along and conquers them, and then they claim it to be mine. And Prabhupada often compared to them like dogs that are barking, my property, as my property, this is my property. And that is the nature of the demons. You can see that from time immemorial that has been going on. Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, they conquered the whole universe, but these little, the little demons, like, who is the person that came to North America? Who's the guy who conquered Christopher Columbus, Captain Cook in Australia, So they all went to places which didn't belong to them. It belonged to the Aborigines, you could say, at least at the time. And the Aborigines didn't consider it to be theirs, actually, because they had some principle. They understood that the land belongs, a lot of them believe in spirits and to some higher energy. But then they went in, they conquered the land and claimed it to be theirs. And then killed all the inhabitants of that land, and then claimed it to be theirs, and then do not allow others to come in that land. This is my land. And you cannot enter. If you need to enter, you need a visa, such and such and such. Prabhupada would criticize them like that. So this nature of a demon has been going on since time immemorial. It has been going on since the time that Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were fighting with the Lord. So we can see that has been going on. And so Hiranyaksha, being very puffed up, he started, as demons do, they deride the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he comes when he descends. What is that? How does that verse start in the seventh chapter? Namam duskritano muda prapadyanti nirādamaha. Is that it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, fools deride me. I'm forgetting the verse. Avajananti mamuda manasim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. So fools deride me when I descend in this form. So he immediately, when he saw Lord Varaha, immediately started saying, "Oh, you're a beast." And the battle that goes on is quite actually wonderful. And you can see how the Supreme Personality of Godhead enjoys in his transcendental forms like this. Actually, he comes specifically for the purpose of enjoyment. It's not that he's trapped in that body like the animals that you see and are suffering and just waiting for death to come so that they can transmigrate. No, the Supreme Personality of Godhead's incarnation, he's enjoying in that body, that spiritual body that he takes on, this form that he takes on. It's mentioned here like this, that the demon laughed, "Oh, an ambitious beast, amphibious beast." The demon addressed the Lord, "Oh, best of the demigods, dressed in the form of a boar, just hear me. This earth is entrusted to us, the inhabitants of the lower regions, and you cannot take it from my presence and not be hurt by me. You rascal, you have been killed, you have been nourished by our enemies to kill us, and you have killed some demons by remaining invisible. Oh, fool, your power is only mystic. So today I shall enliven my kinsmen by killing you." The demon continued, "When you fall dead with your skull smashed by the mace, held by my arms, the demigods and the sages who offer you oblations and sacrifice and devotional service will also automatically cease to exist like trees without roots. Although the Lord was pained by the shaft-like abusive words of the demons, he bore the pain. But seeing that the earth on the end of his tusk was frightened, he rose out of the water, just as an elephant emerges with its female companion when assailed by an alligator. The demon, who had golden hair on his head and fearful tusks, gave chase to the Lord while he was rising from the water, even as an alligator would chase an elephant. Roaring like thunder, he said, "Are you not ashamed of running away before a challenging adversary? There is nothing reproachable for shameless creatures." The Lord placed the earth within his sight on the surface of the water and transferred her to his own energy in the form of the ability to float on the water. While the enemy stood looking on, Brahma, the creator of the universe, extolled the Lord, and other demigods rained flowers on him. The demon, who had a wealth of ornaments, bangles, and beautiful golden armor on his body, chased the Lord from behind with a great mace. The Lord tolerated his piercing ill words, but in order to reply to him, he expressed his terrible anger. The personality of Godhead said, "Indeed, we are creatures of the jungle, and we are searching after hunting dogs like you. One who is freed from the entanglements of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you are indulging, for you are bound up by the laws of death. Certainly we have stolen the charge of the inhabitants of the Rasatala and have lost all shame. Although bitten by your powerful mace, I shall stay here in the water for some time, because having created enmity with a powerful enemy, I now have no place to go. You are supposed to be the commander of many foot soldiers, and now you may take prompt steps to overthrow us. Give us your foolish talk and wipe out the cares of your kith and kin by slaying us. One may be proud, yet he does not deserve a seat in an assembly if he fails to fulfill his promised words." Sri Maitreya said, the demon, being thus challenged by the personality of Godhead, became angry and agitated, and he trembled in anger like a challenged cobra, hissing indignantly, all his senses shaken by wrath. And the demon quickly sprang upon the Lord and dealt him a blow with the powerful mace. The Lord, however, by moving slightly aside, dodged a violent mace blow aimed at his breast by the enemy, thus just as an accomplished yogi would elude death. The personality of God had now exhibited his anger and rushed to meet the demon, who bit his lip in rage, took up his mace again, and began to repeatedly brandish it about. Then, with his mace, the Lord struck the enemy on the right of his brow. But since the demon was expert in fighting, O gentle Vidura, he protected himself by maneuver of his own mace. In his own way, the demon Haraksha, this said here, Haraksha and the Lord, the personality of Godhead, struck each other with their huge maces, each enraged and seeking his own victory. There were keen rivalry between the two combatants. Both had sustained injuries on their bodies from the blows of each other's pointed maces, and each grew more and more enraged at the smell of the blood on his person. In this eagerness to win, they performed maneuvers of various kinds, and the contest looked like an encounter between two forceful bulls for the sake of a cow. O descendant of Kuru, Brahma, the most independent demigod of the universe, accompanied by his followers, came to see the terrible fight for the sake of the world between the demon and the personality Godhead, who appeared in the form of a bull. After arriving at the place of combat, Brahma, the leader of thousands of sages and transcendentalists, saw the demon, who had attained such unprecedented power that no one could fight with him. Brahma then addressed Narayana, who was assuming the form of a bull for the first time. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, this demon has proved to be a constant pinprick to the demigods, the brahmanas, the cows, and innocent persons who are spotless and always dependent upon worshipping your lotus feet. He has become a source of fear by unnecessarily harassing them. Since he has attained a boon from me, he has become a demon, always searching for proper combatant, wandering all over the universe for this infamous purpose." Lord Brahma continued, "My dear Lord, there is no need to play with this serpentile demon, who is always very skilled in conquering tricks and is arrogant and self-sufficient and most wicked." Brahma continued, "My dear Lord, you are infallible. Please kill this sinful demon before the demoniac hour arrives and he presents another formidable approach favorable to him. You can kill him by your internal potency without a doubt. My Lord, the darkest evening which covers the world is fast approaching. Since you are the soul of all souls, kindly kill him and win victory for the demigods. The auspicious period known as Abhijit, which is most fortunate for victory, commenced at midday and has all but passed. Therefore, in the interest of your friends, please dispose of this formidable foe quickly. This demon, luckily for us, has come of his own accord to you. his death ordained by you. Therefore, exhibit your ways, kill him in the duel, and establish the world's peace. So Lord Brahma, in mentioning these things, that this person has performed great, creating so many difficulties for the Brahmanas, the demigods, the cows, such and such, while the Supreme Personality of Godhead was just playing with him. But he became, as we will see, the Lord becomes enraged and immediately now starts the killing of Hiranyaksha. And it's quite amazing, such an amazing feat that he is performing here. Sri Maitreya said, after hearing the words from Brahma, the Creator, which were free of all sinful purposes and as sweet as nectar, the Lord heartily laughed and accepted his prayers with a glance laden with love. The Lord, who had appeared from the nostril of Brahma, sprang and aimed his mace at the chin of his enemy, the Hiranyaksha demon, who was stalking fiercely before him. Struck by the demon's mace, however, the Lord's mace slipped from his hand and looked splendid as it fell down whirling. This was miraculous, for the mace was blazing wonderfully. Even though the demon had an excellent opportunity to strike his unarmed foe without obstruction, he respected the law of single combat. Therefore, kindling the fury of the Supreme Lord, as the Lord's mace fell to the ground and cry of alarm arose from the witnessing crowd of gods and rishis, the personality of Godhead acknowledged the demon's love of righteousness and therefore invoked the Sudarshan discus. As the discus began to revolve in the Lord's hands and the Lord's contendant at close quarters with the chief of his Vaikuntha attendants, who had been born as Hiranyaksha and a vile son of Diti, there issued from every direction strange expressions uttered by those who were witnessing from airplanes. They had no knowledge of the Lord's reality, and they cried, "May victory attend you! Pray dispatch him! Play no more with him!" When the demons saw the Supreme Personality Godhead, whose eyes, just like lotus petals, standing in position before him, armed with the Sudarshan discus, his senses were overpowered by indignation. He began to hiss like a serpent, and he bit his lip in great resentment. The demon, who had fearful tusks, stared at the personality of Godhead as though to burn him. Springing into the air, he aimed his mace at the Lord, exclaiming at the same time, "You are slain, O saintly Vidura." While his enemy looked on, the Lord in his boar form, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, offering playfully, knocked down the mace with his left foot, even as it came upon him with the force of a tempest. The Lord then said, "Take your weapon and try again. Eager as you are to conquer me, challenge in this way." The demon aimed his mace at the Lord and once more loudly roared. When the Lord saw the mace flying towards him, he stood firmly where he was and caught it with the same ease as Garuda, the king of birds, would seize a serpent. His valor thus frustrated, the demon felt humiliated and was put out of his countenance. He was reluctant to take back the mace when it was offered by the personality of Godhead. He now took a trident which was as rapacious as a flaming fire, and hurled it against the Lord, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, even as one would use penance for a malevolent purpose against the holy Brahmana. Hurled by the mighty demon with all his strength, the flying trident shone brightly in the sky. The personality of Godhead, however, tore into pieces with his discus Sudarshan, which had a sharp-edged rim, even as in the cut of a wing of Garuda. The demon was enraged with his trident. When his trident was cut to pieces by the discus of the personality of Godhead, he therefore advanced towards the Lord and, roaring aloud, struck his hard fist against the Lord's broad chest, which bore the mark of the Shivasta. Then he went out of sight. Hit in this manner by the demon, O Vidura, the Lord, who had appeared as the first boy, did not feel the least quacking in any part of his body, any more than an elephant would when struck with a wreath of flowers. The demon, however, employed many conjuring tricks against the personality of Godhead, which is the Lord, who is the Lord of Yogamaya. At the sight of this, the people were filled with alarm and thought that the dissolution of the universe was near. Fierce winds began to blow from all directions, spreading darkness occasioned by dust and hailstorms. Stones came in volleys from every corner as if thrown by machine guns. The luminaries in outer space disappeared. due to the skies being overcast with masses of clouds, which were accompanied by lightning and thunder. The sky rained pus, hair, blood, stool, urine, and bones. O sinless Vidura, mountains discharged weapons of various kinds, and naked demonesses, armed with tridents, appeared with their hair hanging loose. Cruel and savage slogans were uttered by a host of ruffian yakshasas and rakshasas who were either marched on the foot or rode on horses, elephants, or chariots. The Lord, the personal enjoyer of all sacrifices, now discharged his beloved Sudarshan, which was capable of dispersing the magical forces displayed by the demon. At that very moment, a sudden ran through the heart of Diti, the mother of Hiranyaksha. She recalled the words of her husband, Kashyapa, and blood flowed from her breast. When the demon saw his magical forces dispelled, he once again came into the presence of the personality of Godhead, Keshava, and full of rage, tried to embrace him with his arms to crush him. But to great amazement, he found the Lord standing outside the circle of his arm. The demon now began to strike the Lord with his hard fist, but the Lord Adokshaja slapped him in the root of his ear, even as Indra, the Lord of Maruts, hit the demon Vrita. Though struck indifferently by the Lord, the conqueror of all, the demon's body began to wheel. The eyes bulged out of their sockets, his arms and legs broken, and the hair on his head scattered. He fell down dead like a gigantic tree, uprooted by the wind. Aja, Brahma, and others arrived on the spot to see the fearfully tusked demon lying on the ground, biting his lip. The glow of his face was unfaded, and Brahma admiringly said, "Oh, who could meet such blessed death?" So that's the pastime overall. It's quite ecstatic how such a big fight went on, but all that Lord Varaha had to do was just give him a nice slap. That's all that was required. Nonchalant, just casual. Okay, just slapped him at the root of the ear, and the demon immediately fell dead. So Lord Varaha performing this amazing pastime, it was very pleasurable for the rishis and the devotees to see him perform such pastime in such a form. Although the demons take such a form to be just beastly, the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead take great pleasure in hearing about such pastime, just like Lord Nrsimha is described when he garlanded himself with the intestines of Hiranyakashipu. He looked very amazing. He looked very beautiful, as Srila Prabhupada himself said when the painting was going on, more blood, more blood, more blood. That it was very enthusing to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead fight and performing his pastimes. So today is the appearance of Lord Varaha Dev. So we can meditate upon his pastimes of him killing the demon-like Hiranyaksha. And we can pray to him that we ourselves, the demoniac mentality that we have as being born in this age of Kali, in demoniac consciousness, that we may pray that we may be conquered by the Sudarshan Chakra of the Lord, by the mace of the Lord, by his transcendental hands, that he may slap our material desires at the root and destroy them all. So this is a very amazing pastime. And we can meditate upon it throughout the day, today, and for the rest of eternity also. And tomorrow is another great day, appearance of Nityananda Prabhu. So it's another ecstatic festival. So we can meditate like this upon the different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unending, and so always remain in constant association with him. So I'll end the class there. If there's any questions or comments you would like to make, please feel free to ask or comment. Is there anyone? Anything? Pretty straightforward. Yeah. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.